Welcome to another episode of the Jenna Banks Show. I'm Jenna, your host, and I'm all about living life to my fullest potential. And I want to help you do the same. In this show, I explore all kinds of topics that hopefully will help you get to that place where you can feel you're living life to your fullest and your best. Today's episode is definitely for all you high achieving, successful women out there. I know what it's like to experience a lot of success in business and in life. But when it comes to our relationships, sometimes we find ourselves not having the most success in the world. And you might be at that place where either you're exhausted going through all the dating apps and all that, and maybe you're ready to give up altogether, or maybe you're thinking, well, I should just settle because maybe my standards are too high. Look, we all deserve to be in loving, wonderful, long-lasting, healthy relationships. And my guest today is going to help us shine a light on what we might not know about this area so that we can get to a place where we are attracting that to us. My guest today is Melissa Snow, who is a certified love and life coach who helps highly educated, ambitious women have the same success in dating that they've had in every other area of their lives. She hosts the Love Starts Here podcast, is an international speaker, and is the author of 10 Secrets to Having the Love You Want. She believes that you don't have to spend hours swiping on apps, learn to play games, or dig up your past in therapy in order to have the long-term relationship you want with a man who is equal. Melissa, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
So why don't we start just by telling everyone a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name's Melissa Snow. I am a dating coach. I specifically work with ambitious single women who are having success in every other area of their life, but not in their relationships. So I help them figure out what's standing between them and having the kind of relationship that they want and deserve with a man who is their equal and help them get there.
I love that so much. Yeah, when we met, I was like, I need to have you on my show. We really need this conversation because I think there's a lot of misinformation out there when it comes to dating and relationships. There's articles in Cosmo and all these different magazines and blogs and whatnot that have us thinking that if we do this, then we'll attract the right kind of guy. But usually it's something external. Like if you wear a certain type of heels or a skirt, guys
Right.
like the tight clothing, or, if you say this or smile or bat your eyelashes this way, then the guy will be so attracted to you. But I have a feeling that's not at all what you work on.
Not quite. And it's funny you say that because I'm in like a ton of these Facebook dating groups, and some of them are run by other dating coaches. And I always see people asking those coaches questions of like, okay, so he did this. Is this the part where I'm supposed to lean in or am I supposed to lean back? And how do I know when it's time for me to say this? And like, it just seems like so much work.
It does.
For
Just you
starters.
saying that really is exhausting to me to think about. Like, it sounds kind of contrived and almost manipulative.
100%. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of us, especially type A women who tend to be the more successful, career oriented, driven women, we already overthink things. We
Yeah.
already have so many things in our brain of like, should I do this or should I do this? I wonder if I did that right. Should I do more of this? We don't need more of that in our lives.
Yeah,
For sure.
exactly. So true. So it sounds to me like a lot of what you do is making it easy, like breaking down these things that make us think it's a lot of work and just how to just be more authentically you and just be comfortable with it.
Yep, 100%, which is exactly how I found you and your book. Because really what I focus on is getting clear on what you want, getting clear on who you want it with. And those are actually like deeper questions than most people think they are. Most women I talk to are like, no, I know exactly what I want. I know exactly who I want it with. But a lot of women realize through coaching that what they thought they wanted is actually what they just like thought they were supposed to want.
Oh, that's so good. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yes.
so once we get really clear on what you want and who you want it with, the big piece is getting clear on who you want to be in that relationship.
Ooh.
Because what I tell my clients is the true sign of compatibility is whether a man in a relationship brings out more or less of the woman that you want to be.
So good.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We should want to feel comfortable. I have a question for you. I came across this while I was writing my book. I realized that a relationship I had been in did something that I wasn't used to. It caused me butterflies constantly, right? He would send a text message and I'm like, oh, and I'm like, wow, this must mean I really, really like this guy because I'm getting these butterflies every time he calls or texts. I'm like, gosh, it's a very exciting relationship. So I thought, what is your take on the whole butterfly thing?
So I think butterflies are great. Sometimes when I have this conversation with women, I'm like, I'm sorry, I just ruined like all of the best parts of dating for you. And it is, I love that beginning of the relationship. Oh my gosh, I like him so much. He likes me. This is so fun and exciting. Like that part is so great. But we have to remember that is chemicals, right? Like those
Hmm.
butterflies really are just dopamine hits. And
Yes.
a lot of times in a healthy relationship, you stop getting those big dopamine hits as time goes on, right?
That's a
And
sign of a
so
healthy relationship. Exactly.
yes, yes.
Mhm.
And I didn't realize that for so long. So when those butterflies would go away, like I never had a relationship that lasted more than 2 months because
Mm.
that's how long the butterflies lasted. And when they were gone, I was like, I don't think I'm in love anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
clearly something's wrong because I don't feel that excited, "Oh my gosh, I wanna tear your clothes off. This is the best thing that's ever happened," feeling. But what I've learned is that in unhealthy relationships, you continue to get those dopamine hits because those are the relationships where you have really high highs and really low lows,
A lot
right?
of
Where
anxiety too, I found. Yeah.
yes, and you're breaking up and you're getting back together, but the
Yeah.
getting back together feels so good, and you're fighting and then you're making up, and the making up feels so good. And it's just up and down and up and down. Whereas in a healthy relationship, at some point things just stable out, right? And you
Yeah.
become comfortable. Sometimes you become complacent. You trade in those butterflies. This is the advice my mom gave me, and it was the best advice ever for having a relationship that lasted more than 2 months. She said, the butterflies are going to go away, but they're replaced by something different. They're replaced by trust and
Mm.
security and comfort and dependability, right? All of those things that you don't have in the beginning of a relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can attest to that. I'm in a very comfortable, stable, secure, loving, healthy relationship. And butterflies ended after date one.
Yeah.
It wasn't about the butterflies. I felt very safe and secure and loved and just like everything that I needed. It just felt so comfortable. And that is what I wanted. Before that, I had felt those butterflies and I thought, that's what I wanted. Come to find out, it was a sign of insecurity,
Mhm.
instability, anxiousness, and it actually wasn't a good thing. I would love to touch on what you mentioned about the dopamine hit as well,
Mhm.
because I think that dopamine really put me in an attachment situation,
Mhm.
right? And I come to find out, like through researching for my own book, I talked a lot about this one breakup and how it made me realize that yes, as I was researching why, come to find out, it was this dopamine release that was keeping me addicted and that it's the same chemicals that get released when we do drugs like heroin.
Yeah.
And so we know the highly addictive nature of heroin. And, it's like, I mean, I would never imagine trying to I'm not going to judge anyone who's ever done it, but I can't imagine sticking a needle in my arm and trying it just because how destructive it can be. And yet here we are, and we don't even realize how highly addictive love and sex can be, and how we really need to be super, super cautious about who we allow into our lives and allow to kind of tap that dopamine because we could get attached to and addicted to completely the wrong partner, which is why what you said in the beginning about knowing who you really want is really important, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, what you're saying is absolutely true about for us on this side of heroin addiction to say, oh, I can never imagine doing that just for that.
Mhm.
And I feel the same way now that I've been in a healthy relationship for over 10 years. I think, "Oh, I can never imagine being in a relationship like that again just
Of
for that
course.
feeling."
Of course.
And now I
Yeah.
don't even want that feeling.
I mean, it was such a roller coaster of emotions and so much wasted energy, right? All those days you spend crying and upset and you can't get your stuff done well and you can't focus on your goals. And like, I mean, how much time of life gets wasted in those toxic, it really is toxic situations when you could kind of avoid a lot of that if you go back. And what I found was if you can kind of know what your relationship values are, I don't think any of us are really taught that, right? Like, what is it, not like you mentioned, not what's good on paper, right? Oh, a doctor, a lot of successful, comes from a good family, well, actually that could be a good one, comes from a good family, but like,
Tall,
you
dark,
know,
and handsome.
tall, dark, and handsome, blue eyes, blonde hair, muscly. I mean, these are not things that are going to help your relationship last, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, what are
Yeah.
some of the things that could make it last? Just, what are some of the things that we should look for in a partner? Like, how do we get to the good, like the stuff that we really should be looking for?
Yeah. So, to your point, I think it's important for people to know if they're listening to this and they are in a relationship like that, where it is up and down and it is like so traumatic, but they're still there. And I know because I've been there, there's so many people in your life that are like, just leave.
Yeah.
But when you are in that addiction, it really doesn't feel like you can just leave. Like,
Yeah.
I remember being in relationships where I was like, I would physically hide my phone under the couch, like hide it from myself so that I wouldn't reach out to him because it
Yeah.
feels like the pull of that dopamine and the other chemicals feels so strong that it feels like you don't have a choice. And
Yeah.
so I just wanted to mention for those people who are listening, like that's the power of a coach or a therapist who can help you like kind of pull yourself out of that because it does feel really hard no matter what anybody else says to pull yourself out of it.
I've been there. I've been there. It was so tough. I went back even after breaking up. I went back, not really realizing how toxic it really was because he told me everything I really thought I needed to hear, but we were right back into the toxicity. And getting out and breaking from that extreme dopamine release was like withdrawing. It really felt like withdrawing from like what I've seen withdrawals from heroin or, on TV. I've never experienced it personally, but you see these people going through these major drug withdrawals and how they're just like, oh, I just need a hit. I just need a hit to feel better. Right. Like
Yeah.
if I just get him to say this one thing or just to kind of, yeah, I need him to make me feel better or her to make me feel better. And so you'll do these things that are to your own detriment and you even know it, but you just don't care. You just want to feel better.
Right.
That's how heavy that addiction is. And I felt like this huge hole in my heart. Is that how you felt as well?
100%. Yes. And that's
Yeah.
when we come up with these like, well, I just need to get my key back. I just need closure. He has this thing at his house that I need to give him his whatever back, right? Like
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
reasons that we
Yeah.
just need to talk to him one more time and then
Yeah.
that's it.
So true.
Yeah. But then that just starts you over right at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Just put the key in the mail.
Yeah, I had to, you know what I did? I did this. I saw a coach as well. And if I knew you at the time, I would have seen you, but I saw a different relationship coach. But I definitely recommend a relationship coach in a situation where you're dealing with trying to make sense of a toxic situation, or you're just not having, you're having a hard time walking away or breaking it off, or maybe you did break it off and now you're dealing with a lot of heartache and maybe you're feeling off balance. I felt really like my world was rocked and I wanted to go back so bad, but I also wanted to save myself. And so seeing a relationship coach was incredibly insightful. And come to find out, he didn't meet any of my relationship values because I didn't know what they were.
Exactly.
And so I had to go through the assessment and go, okay, well, here are the things that I think are incredibly important in a relationship. And they're like, okay, great. 1 to 10, scale of 1 to 10. Now write down how well this gentleman met those relationship values. And I was getting a 1 to 3 score on everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no wonder this guy could never, ever meet my relationship needs ever. He's just not capable.
Right.
He was even telling me I'm not capable. And I'm like, but of course you are. How could you not be? But he literally was not capable.
Yeah. Yeah. And so to go back to your question about what we should be looking for in a relationship, this question always makes me laugh because before I started dating my current fiance, who I've been with for 10 years, I was on Match.com. And in Match, I don't know if it's still like this, but back in the day, you could put in like, I only want someone with this color hair, this color eyes,
Oh,
this
I don't
kind
know.
of body,
Oh God.
right?
Yes. Yes.
And so I was like, I don't want somebody who's bald. Number one. I don't want somebody with glasses, right? My mind is like, just this like big dork. Like, I don't want him. And now I'm engaged to the big dork with glasses who's been bald since the day I met him.
So good. Such a good point you make, though. Such a good point. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, eliminating he's 1,000,000% not my type, but it's the best, most healthy relationship I've ever had in my whole life. And I should specify when I say physically, he's not my type. Physically, he's not who I would have gone for before. Right. But when you get into this space of like, what your values are, what I call your anti-values are, the things that you dislike the most. I have my clients a lot of times do this exercise where they just sit and they write down every single thing that they want in their future partner. Like, they don't censor themselves. They don't think I shouldn't want this. This is stupid. This is too little. Just write down every single thing. Like, I want somebody who will watch football with me. I want somebody with brown hair. I want somebody who's taller than me. I want somebody who, does this thing in bed, like whatever the things are. And then we start separating those out into categories, like things that I absolutely must have in a partner, things that I would like to have, but can live without, So getting really clear on what are those must-haves, because when someone has all of those things, they instantly become like 1,000,000 times more attractive to you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. Yeah.
Like when you're looking at a man and you're like, oh my God, he would be the best dad ever. Then you're just like, I want him so bad.
So attractive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. So how do we get in a space where we are, attracting the kind of people that we're looking to be in a relationship with?
Yeah. So I actually have this webinar that I've done several times in the last month called How Women Who Have Been Dating for More Than 6 Months Can Finally Find a Man Worth Marrying.
That's so good.
One of the things that we talk about in the webinar, there's 3 secrets. And one of the secrets is learning how to spot, repel, and resist emotionally unavailable and low effort men. So most of us can spot them, but then we make excuses for why we can just ignore that, right? Like the guy who's put nothing on his dating profile. We're like, oh, well, he's probably just really sick of dating and he doesn't want to bother if women are going to like we make excuses for why he's putting no effort.
Of course.
Or we see signs that he might be emotionally unavailable, but we make excuses for why that is. And it's probably not that he's not emotionally available. So that's the first part. But the second part is really the big part of learning to become a woman who actually repels those type of men. Like men who are a mess are attracted to women who are going to let them be a mess.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I know.
Women who,
yes,
women who know exactly what they want, who aren't going to settle for less than that, and not in like a picky, snobby, like I'm too good for everybody kind of way, just in a like, I'm an adult. I know what I'm looking for. I know what I'm not looking for. And I'm not going to waste time dating somebody who's not husband material for me. It doesn't mean you're a bad guy. You're just not husband material for me. Right. So those women who are in that space, who have become the woman who has the relationship that they want, they are going to attract men automatically who want that same kind of a relationship. And they're going to repel the men who are looking for something casual, who don't know what they want, who know what they want, but don't want to put any effort into it, who want a relationship, but aren't mentally and emotionally capable of having it, right? Like
Mm.
those men are the one who meet those women and think she's intimidating, she's a B, she's a snob, like all of the things of why I'm not going to talk to her, and it's all about her, right? It's not because I'm an emotionally unavailable low effort man.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. Yeah. And that comes down to getting really clear on what you're looking for. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a mindset too. And I think that, affects your energy and yeah, your attraction level. Absolutely.
Yep.
When I was dating before I met this amazing man that I'm so in love with, I I was still attracting some of that same old pattern, narcissist basically.
Mhm.
And but what I did was, as I felt that bad feeling come up after like date three, I'm all about tuning in. Tune into how you feel. After date one was exciting, date two was like, oh, there's potential, and then date three was like, he's doing like the way he's behaving is not aligned with me. Like he's making
Mhm.
me wonder what's up, like chase for a question to get answered, not responding to a text in a timely fashion, all of a sudden, like breaking the normal, the pattern that he led up to that date three or after date three. And I'm
Mhm.
like, no, I knew what my values were and what I was looking for. And I'm like, this is already uncomfortable. I'm just done.
Yeah.
And so you just have to stop wasting time with, the things that aren't making you satisfied or comfortable is what I found. And once I shut the door to those, it happened a couple of times and I literally just blocked them. I didn't even give a
Mhm.
reason. I was just like, nope, nope, block. there's
Yes.
no there's no reason necessary because, your behavior is making me uncomfortable. And if you're not wooing me and I'm not feeling good about this interaction and I block you, that's on you. I don't have to make you feel good. That's not my
No.
problem.
No,
I
and
have
it's
to make
not your
me feel
job to
good.
teach him how to be better either.
That's right. That's right. They have to figure that out on their own. For me, I just have to do what makes me feel good. And blocking them made me feel good. So I was like, yeah. And guess what happened? I met a completely different type of person who was way better suited for me. Yes, a completely different pattern than I was used to attracting,
Mhm.
but just so much better, more aligned for me. And I'm so glad I attracted somebody different and that was aligned with what I knew now are my relationship values.
Yeah, and you were available to him when you found him because you didn't still have the door half
Yes.
open on Joe, hoping he would become a different person who was capable of loving you the way that you wanted to be loved.
Such a good point, Melissa. Such a good point. Leaving the door open to these fools that we want to change somehow or hope that they'll come around
Mhm.
literally does not leave our energy open for that right person to come along.
Yep.
I'm all about that. I observed that long, long time ago. I'd see my friends leave these doors open. Oh yeah, my ex, this guy I dated who never would really commit, but he's hot. And
Mhm.
we're friends, and you leave. We're gonna sleep together occasionally, but I'm not gonna tell anybody. We're just gonna pretend to be friends. And then this guy over here has a line of communication open to me, and it's like, but we're all friends. And I know people who do that, and I'm thinking, all I can see is your energy being sucked from you into a situation that is not serving you.
Yeah, and then they're like, "Why do I keep attracting emotionally unavailable men?" Well,
Yeah.
because you're not emotionally available either, because half of your heart is still over here.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very good point. So when someone comes to you and they first start working with you, how do you approach the situation? Do you have like assessments or like how do you work?
Yeah. So, I mean, it kind of depends on what the issue is and what their goals are. For most of my clients, it's I'm single, I've been dating, usually online. It's horrible. I'm sick of it. This is my last resort before I just give up and spend the rest of my life by myself.
Yeah.
And a lot of my clients are in this space where they feel like I have to choose one thing or another. I can have this successful career or I can have the relationship, but not both.
Right.
I can raise my kid and do a good job as a good mom, or I can have the relationship, but not both. So,
Mm.
getting really clear on like, if we were in a world where you could have everything that you want, because we are, what would those things be, right? Like, without all of these limiting beliefs, without all of this like scarcity, I can't have everything I want, what would those things be? So then once we figure out what those things that you really want are, then we figure out who would you be when you have those things, right? Like, who is the woman? Imagine yourself with all of those things. Who is that woman? How does she think? How does she feel? How would she handle this situation? What does she do? All of those things. And then we work on becoming that woman. That's really the short version of it.
And how long do your clients typically work with you until they end up feeling comfortable with their
Usually about
situation?
6 months. Within 6 months, my clients have found somebody that they're pretty serious about, that they're feeling like, and this is the other piece of it too, right? Like, once you find the relationship, you have to actually know what to do with it. And for
Mm.
most of us who have only been in unhealthy, toxic, emotionally unavailable relationships, we don't know what to do with it when we find the one that we really want. Like, I don't know
Mm.
about you, but for me, I remember after like at least 6 months of us being together, I was like, why aren't we fighting? Like,
Why
this is
are we or
weird.
aren't we?
Why aren't we?
Okay.
Like, this is very weird.
Yeah.
We haven't disagreed about anything.
Yeah.
We haven't broken up and gotten back together. Like, everything is just very calm. And
Mhm.
this is a lot of times when it feels so unnatural that our brain starts telling us stories of like, he's too nice, he's boring, you know? And so then we
Mm.
run away looking for that dopamine hit from somebody else. So
Mm.
6 months usually is about how long it takes for them to find someone that they really like. We spend a little bit of time when they're dating that person, helping them make sure that when those thoughts come up of like, he's too boring, he's too nice, those things, that we really work through those and see like, is that the truth, or is that just a story that your brain's telling you because it wants you to go back to what was comfortable for you before?
Right. Which really wasn't comfortable.
Right.
Just the same old pattern. Yeah.
Exactly.
I found also for myself, and I don't know if you work with clients with this, but I found that I had some really crazy limiting beliefs that I'd formed from trauma from my childhood that impacted my relationships 100%. Where here I'm thinking, I'm a successful woman, has her shit together. I'm great I'm a great communicator. I'm a secure attachment type. I've not had any complaints from anyone. Usually I'm the one to break up. So here I'm thinking I'm doing pretty darn good in
Yeah.
relationships as far as from my end.
Yeah.
Comes to find out, I had some things that would get triggered. I had triggers that were pretty darn deep. They were like, I had abandonment issues I wasn't aware of, which makes sense. I was abandoned by both parents,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally and physically.
Mm-hmm.
I also had issues related to, I felt helpless with my younger siblings. And so I always felt responsible for them if they were suffering. And so that translated also to, if anyone's suffering, anyone I love, I am responsible for everything. It
Mm-hmm.
literally was a running dialogue in the back of my mind. So I would put my needs on the back burner, self-sacrifice to make sure that, and then I felt responsible for him and responsible for the relationship and responsible for me. Wow. No wonder why I was drained and exhausted and resentful and all of that. Right. So
For
there's these
sure.
things that we just can't see,
Yep.
because we don't know these things that are causing this belief system and that
Mm-hmm.
are actually causing some of the conflicts, causing some of the resentment we feel, that we could just, if we heal it, we could get rid of that forever.
Yep, absolutely. I refer to those as negative core beliefs, the things that you've come to believe about yourself, about the world, about men, about love,
Yes.
that you may not even realize are there, right? For some of us, these are things we've been thinking since we were 5 years old.
Yeah.
It's my job to make sure everybody's happy is a big one, right? It's my
Oh,
job to make sure that everybody's okay. And that's
yeah.
actually very normal if you study like human development in the very early stages of like 2 to 5, when children think everything is about them, right? Like, that's why they like to do the thing over and over that makes people laugh, because it's like, if the people around me are happy, it's because I caused it. If the people
Mm.
around me are fighting, it's because I caused it. If I'm not getting my needs met, if I'm sitting here in a dirty diaper and I'm hungry and nobody's taking care of me, it's because there's something wrong with me. right?
Yeah.
I'm not deserving. I'm not good enough. I haven't done something right. And although we don't have the language to say that or think that as children, that gets ingrained in us. And for a
Yeah.
lot of us, we carry that to 40 without even realizing it.
So true. So true. These are really deep-seated things that most of us don't even realize affect us in adulthood. So to uncover them and realize, and then you feel it, you feel the emotion when it comes up. You're like, oh, I did feel that. I mean, even just simple as I was talking to someone yesterday, and a gentleman had told me something I had long believed about men. And I don't know where it came from. And a lot of us don't know where these beliefs come from. But
Mhm.
he had said something like he was trying to raise his daughters in a certain way. They're getting old enough to date now. And he said something about, well, all guys are manipulative. So I want to make sure that they know that. And I was like, it's so interesting you say that, because I believe the same thing. And then I tell this to this friend, and she's like, well, it's actually somebody who's very well versed in the coaching world, as she says, you know, do you really believe that? Because you could choose to look at life with that lens, but if you do, you're going to just see everything through that lens. And
Yeah.
then the world is just going to bring you stuff to prove you right.
Right. 100%. Yeah, that's the problem with these negative core beliefs is when your brain believes something, our brains hate to be wrong. So
Yeah.
when your brain believes something is true, it is going to go out and find you all of the evidence that that thing is true,
Yeah.
even if it's not like real evidence,
That's
you
right.
know?
It's not a fact, it's a belief, and that's a huge differentiator for people to understand, for anyone listening now to understand. A belief and a fact is a very, very different thing.
Right.
We can
Yeah.
believe something and we think it's a fact.
Right. But it's hard because your brain presents you a lot of beliefs as facts,
Yeah.
right? When you have this underlying belief that you're not worthy, now you see everything through that filter, right?
Yeah.
Like somebody else gets called before you on the wait list at the restaurant and you're like, see?
See, that always happens to me. See, I'm
Yeah.
unlucky.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a belief. Yeah. I know somebody who their whole life, they've always looked life through that life through that lens of I'm unlucky. And they always get evidence of how unlucky they are. And I'm like, oh man, if you could only see
Yeah.
that, you're always going to get evidence of that if that's what you choose to believe.
Right. Yeah. And that's why the practice of gratitude is such a huge thing because
Yeah.
when you're looking for things to be grateful for, you're going to find them everywhere. When
Yeah.
you're looking for things that are wrong, you're going to find them everywhere. And that changes your energy. It changes your experience of the world and your experience of life.
So good. Melissa, you are chock full of amazing information, and I
Yeah.
love what you do. And I really am glad I got to highlight you and your work, because this is going to be such a game changer for so many women listening to this or watching this right now. That listen, if you're on the fence, you deserve it. I'm all about self-love. This is about you. This is about you living your best life, and you deserve your investment of time and energy to get out of life exactly what you want. That is super, super self-loving, and you have to feel worth it. Yes, it's like, oh my gosh, to think 6 months, I'm going to have to go through 6 months of coaching. Yes. But do you want to go the rest of your life doing life the same way you've been doing it? Right.
Right.
This is why I wanted to bring Melissa on today. So Melissa, thank you so much
Thank
for
you. Thank you
your,
so much for having me. I love chatting with you.
yeah, same here so much. And how can anybody listening or watching this right now get in touch with you?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways. My podcast is called Love Starts Here. It's relationship advice and dating advice for smart, successful women. So they can check that out. My Facebook group is also called Love Starts Here, or they can go to my website, which is lovestartsherecoach.com.
Yeah. And you're also on Instagram, right?
I am. Yeah. melissasnow.lovestartshere.
Love your Instagram page as well, sister.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So nice to have you. And yeah, I look forward to hopefully having more of these discussions in the future.
Absolutely. You too.
If we haven't done so already, I would love, love, love to connect with you on social media. You'll find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. My handle is at Jenna Banks.0 for most of those locations. On LinkedIn, just type in my name, Jenna Banks. definitely sign up for my newsletter, which is on my website. The sign up is on my website, which is jenna-banks.com. My new book is out, I Love Me More: How to Find Happiness and Success Through Self-Love. And you can find links to that on my website as well. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, all over the place. Also, ask for it in your local bookstore if you have a local favorite bookstore. If they don't have it on the shelves, if you ask them, they'll actually bring it in. Thank you so much for tuning into the show today. I really hope to see you again next time. And remember, your love is your power. Until next time.